Selfhood can be best explained by having a true identity. It is closely related to personhood, which is what makes a person a person. With technology advancing, it's hard to determine who or what is capable of selfhood. For that reason, many people have differing viewpoints in regards to robots being capable of selfhood. 20 years from now, there could be robots integrated within our society, and for example, could even possibly be our taxi drivers. That's why it's important to discuss if robots can be considered persons. The robot that could be the one driving us around in the future may be questioning the same thought, which would mean it can think like us. I will be including some philosophical perspectives of important past historical figures such as Rene Descartes and Derek Parfit that share their ideas on selfhood. Only then I can address the question on if robots can ever be capable of selfhood based on my own thoughts. I will finish the essay with my own thoughts on whether or not robots can achieve personhood. Derek Parfit greatly opposes the idea of how survival has to do with our identities. After sharing Wiggins' scenario on a man whose brain is cut in half and given two separate new bodies, he makes a point that the man is able to live as two different people. He uses this scenario to contradict Wiggins' ideologies on how identities matter and explains why identity doesn't matter, but the means of how we survive. Another important point Parfit made was that if we do have psychological continuum, the results, like memories, don't suggest connection to identification. While Parfit's beliefs are distant from the idea of identity relating to personhood, Descartes focuses on the thinking level of what makes a person a person. If someone has the ability to think consciously, then they're suitable enough for selfhood. This statement by Descartes best illustrates his point on selfhood. He finds that there is nothing except the fact that he is thinking on which his certainty of his existence depends. If nothing else were true, this much is certain, that he exists since he is thinking. He also acknowledges that one doesn't need to be a complete person in order to complete this selfhood. The way he reasoned with this was by including a valid statement. People are still able to think without body parts. He illustrates a story which suggests that it's the mind that matters, not if our brain was put in someone else's body. Aside from the differences from these two sources presented, they also shared one similarity, and that was on the idea of a continuum. Parfit claimed that one can continue to exist without an identity. Descartes claims for any continuant substance other than me, it is possible to misidentify it, mistake it for another, numerically different substance. Now that we've heard from these important viewpoints, we must analyze their reasoning. Parfit disproved a common rationale on how identity has a role with selfhood. The scenario he shared was powerful, as it explained how the common misconception could not be possible. This method of use of scenarios also proved successful in the example that Descartes provided about the missing body parts. Parfit had a limited view on what connects with selfhood, and I think the reason behind this is that he himself was not very sure of what defines selfhood. I wouldn't blame Parfit for this because there is no real answer, especially with how technology is changing nowadays. Descartes made it clear that anything that could think is capable of selfhood, which leaves it open to various interpretations. There are many things that could think, so it could in a way be misleading, since it's such a wide, non-specific statement. The disadvantage is that we don't know exactly what is within the realm of thinking worthy, and therefore, if we consider it being able to achieve selfhood. On the other hand, this is advantageous because what ties to selfhood is not limited, as Parfit determined. Aside from these philosophical thinkers, it's important to get input from the field of robot technology. Lavanya Rathnam shared, some robots can even work themselves through a simple obstacle course. Despite all these advancements, robots are still considered as machines or tools that'll do a job. For the most part, they are not aware of their existence and are incapable of emotions. Here we are introduced to the debate on whether robots could possibly arrive at selfhood, personhood. With the mirror test and wise men puzzle, this shows just the opposite. They suggest that robots are getting nearer to a point where they can think like us humans and even feel emotions. For example, there's a Sony robot dog that can feel love and show it to his owners. From a different source, Tom Fleischman talked about how Cornell University created a robot that shows facial expressions to display its emotions, such as expressing its anger with both eyes and its skin, which turns spiky through fluidic actuators that are inflated under its skin based on its mood. This also indicates how robots are able to express feelings and why we should seriously consider if they're able to achieve selfhood. Even if there are people who believe robots should be considered people, there are some opposers as well. Hussein Abbas stated, "Are robots equivalent to humans? No. Robots are not humans. Even as robots get smarter, and even if their smartness exceeds human smartness, it does not change the fact that robots are of a different form from humans. We've arrived to the point where human rights is a concern, but for robots." This professor added, "Should robots be given rights? Yes. Humanity has obligations toward our ecosystem and social system. Robots will be part of both systems. We are morally obliged to protect them. From the source, it's clear that robots are viewed solely as machines whose duties are to help the human race with their intelligence and functions. Meanwhile, if they are given certain rights to accomplish that, then it's also our obligation to take care of that. With this said, I understand how others would see artificial intelligence as equipment to aid our society. If we think about it, we haven't created a robot that's protesting for consideration as a person or for its rights. We are so focused on innovation in our artificial intelligence to enhance our lives, whether it be at work, at home, or for entertainment purposes. Apart from the functioning aspect of robots involving whether they're humans or not, some believe that what we make of them is the issue. One source said, "Robots aren't human. We only make them so." The author also included an example where robotists at Osaka University had to work at a smaller, intricate level to develop a baby robot, and even stated how it looked too cute with baby clothes. So they took off its clothes. This shows just how far we are willing to go to create artificial intelligence that aren't necessarily useful or handy. It can be argued that robots in the end can never be humans, for they are crafted to appear and act like one, as Locke stated in the first quote. Furthermore, as robots are programmed to fulfill our desires and needs, we are too programmed in various ways. Basic viewpoint of life, we are programmed to strive for success in our lives. First, we go to school, get a job, and then have a family. Many people are programmed to follow the steps of others, such as famous people or even our parents. These are a few examples of how humans, like robots, are programmed. In my opinion, robots should be capable of selfhood. As Descartes argued, if someone can think, then it can definitely reach selfhood. Not only should they be capable of it, they should be considered it. In addition to it, I think that robots can be persons and should be considered if they are capable of selfhood. Therefore, unlike Hussein's statement, I believe robots should be given human rights, not for our sake, but for theirs. When they further advance and are able to know that they too have the freedom to exercise rights that belong to them, then humans and robots can coexist rightfully. I think that robots shouldn't be used for our selfish purposes. Instead, we can learn to share our abilities to benefit each other. To wrap up, I discussed different viewpoints on selfhood and considering robots as humans. Included research on robots, powerful quotes from people within the field of AI, and included my own opinion on whether robots can achieve selfhood and should be considered persons. Maybe one day it won't be us just pondering these questions, but also the robots.